this video we're going to talk about props. So the props that we're using when we want to even further our flexibility and our stretching. I'd like to start out with the thing that got us all, so the essential part, the yoga mat. You have 4 different kinds of mats. So the one most of you have seen me working on, that's a all-around yoga mat. This is the big black one that's in the spare room. Feel free to use it. It is for everyone to use, unless of course I'm teaching class. This is a 5mm mat, meaning that it can be used both for demanding balancing poses, but also when there's a bit more pressure on our joints, so on our wrists or our knees. One side is soft and squeezy, the other side is hard. The hard side is the one you will use for the balancing poses, and the squeezy side if you're using it for like push-ups or the like, where you have a lot of strain on either your knees or your wrists. The studio mats are a bit thinner. This is a 3mm. It offers you better support when you're doing balancing works, but not as much if you have a lot of weight on your main point, on your main joints. What you can do, however, when you're using these mats, if you're using it for push-up or the like, is roll it up. That will give you a bit more squishiness under your knees or your wrists, wherever your problem area is, and support you better. But remember, when you're trying one-legged balances or the like, it's always better with a thinner mat because you have better grip through your toes. The last mat we have here in the studio is the super thin 1.2mm. This is not giving a lot of joint comfort. It's however brilliant for quick flows, so when you get a wee bit sweaty, because it has an integrated yoga towel in it. If you're using the super thin mat, which is great as well for balancing, then please, before you start, put a wee bit of water on your hands and your feet. That will give you better grip. And the longer you work this mat, so the more sweaty you become, the more grip you will achieve. It's super good for these really hard and demanding flows, and will allow you to stay better aligned through your practice. We of course also have the actual exercise mats. These are typically from 7mm and up to 1 centimeter thick. These are great for when you're doing strength works, so for the push-ups and the like, but these are not for yoga. If you're looking to purchase your own yoga mat for use here in the studio or at home, then please think about this. I would always recommend going for 5mm. For yoga and for stretcher works, I would always recommend 5mm with a hard side, so that you have a really good all-around mat that you can use for any type of practice, both strength work and balancing work. Another very important friend to have when you're working your flexibility game is your blocks. Blocks are not for losers. Blocks are not a taboo. Blocks is not cheating. Blocks will help you. Most of you guys are not super flexi-bendy and will have a hard time to get into the really deep stretches. One of the very good examples is, for example, your forward fold. But there's a lot to gain from reaching that contact with the floor. and here your blocks will help you. We're using these in every flexibility class. Half of the class I'm asking people to use their blocks in order to help them to move further into their pose. A good example of how we're using a block is, for example, in a forward fold. Now, when I'm forward folding, I would go straight legs down to the floor. If your hamstrings does not support this yet, then the block is your good friend. Having that contact to the floor means that you can push with your arms and thereby help you to straighten your legs. So how I would use the block here is, if your forward fold looks more like this, then this, oh, we go a bit to the side, this, then the block is your friend. Place it on the setting that fits your fold. So how high you need to raise the floor, and you're pushing down to it with your hands, like you would normally in the floor if you could reach it. Now when I push with my hands instead of just hanging in the air, I have the ability to put more of my weight in the hands and thereby work on stretching out those knees. So I can work my hamstrings better using the block here than I would be able to without. Blocks are also great for our split training. It will help you go deeper, it will help support you when you want to go into that, or when you want to test your limits, when you want to go a bit deeper into your stretches. Here I'm using the blocks as supports, so I don't have to fight the stretch of my actual split. So I use it to lower down when I start to feeling tight in my thighs and my hamstrings. I use the blocks here and I get the opportunity to go a little bit further, but without the fear of like collapsing into the mat and damaging myself. The blocks are your friend, also for back bends. Here I use the block as support to just rest upon. I put it here right on the top of my lower, or on the bottom of my lower back, right over your the lining of the thighs, and I lean back and just relax. Now, as you can see, I'm working a supported back bend here. So I give my back the opportunity to open up in a relaxing pose where I don't have to use my muscles to fight against this, fight into or out of this back bend. Another really important prop is a yoga belt or a yoga strap, call it whatever you like. You use this to gain longer arms. So, for example, when working our forward folds, I would use my strap around my toes, so around my toes, straighten out my legs, and now with the guidance of the strap, I have the opportunity to go even further in my forward fold while keeping my back straight. So I bend at the hips, I lean forward, I think forward with my chest and with my chin. So you look up so that your chin is parallel with the floor, chest is out, shoulders back. And this is very important when using the strap. Don't hunch out there. This is what we normally would do with our hands when we're trying to reach something that is, well, basically out of reach for us. So we would round our back and reach for the toes. Instead, I'd like you to work with a straight back and then working into your hip flexors instead, and of course those hamstrings. Keep bending your elbow. So it doesn't matter how long the strap has to go or has to be. That really depends on the movement that you're working in. Keep bending the elbow, keep your shoulders back, keep your back straight, and now I can, by bending my elbows further, I can pull myself forward, chest first, chin parallel to the floor, and chin is reaching towards the toes. Now, as you can see, my back is still super straight here. My shoulders is properly aligned, but I'm still working closer towards that fold. We are also using the strap when we want to work our hammies on the back. So here I will again grab it around my foot and use it to pull down, to opening up those hamstrings in the back without having to go into downward dogs. Also great for twists when my arms just can't reach. The belt can support me. Generally just a good helper. If you don't have a belt, then use a tea towel. It gives you exactly the same support. It's not as fancy, but most of you will have one available, and you just grab the ends of your towel here. These are my most important props, and what I would recommend you to get a hand when you worked your flexibility. If you do not have yoga blocks, you don't have to run out and purchase one. As the strap, we have alternatives. Instead of the strap, you can use a tea towel. Instead of blocks, you can use books or even pillows, depending on the pose that you're aiming for. If you want to press down, use the block to press down, then you would go for books or other hard items that can take the pressure of your weight. If you want it for support underneath you, like for example, we use it in our splits training, where we have the block underneath, so that we don't go further down than what is comfortable for our hips. Then you prop up with pillows or the like to have something to catch you if you fall, or ensure that you do not fall. If you want to know more about the props, if you want to know more about the flexibility training, you're always welcome at my class Monday evening down in the studio. Bye.